We have a very musical Katha Kalakshepam by a very, very talented artist, Sri Dushyanth Sridhar. I invite him to the stage. And before they settle down, I would like to briefly introduce our artist. Dushyanth Sridhar is a speaker on the scriptures of Hinduism in English and Tamil primarily. Trained in such scriptures, he is an alumnus of BITS Pilani. He is a religious speaker, speaks in 4 languages. He has rendered over 600 discourses worldwide, and he's a regular speaker in 4 leading TV channels. He has released 9 albums with 4 leading labels, a contributor of articles to spiritual magazines. We welcome you, Sri Dushyanth Sridhar.
Of India, and also accompanying it with music. It was really nice that he accepted, and not that we gave him too many weeks notice also. He was very spontaneous and agreed to do this for us. I hope you all enjoy it, and we are going to have slides of mountains in the background as he sings. It will, you don't mind? Of many of the photographers who have been nice enough to give us their pictures. And I had said yesterday that I'd like to know what the mountain ranges of India are. Any of you youngsters have answers? Yeah. Okay. Eastern Ghats? Eastern Ghats, Western Ghats, Aravalli, Satpura, India, Himalayas. Okay, very good. Yeah, those are ranges. I only asked for the ranges. Everybody knows that?
Now they.
Now you know. Where are the Aravalli ranges? Huh? Just show the hand like this.
Near Delhi. Near Delhi.
You read, no? Where? Aravalli is one of the world's oldest ranges. They were very steep, but now they have just become rolling hills. It's in the, I want you to go back and check where it is. Because if we don't know the geography of our own country, who is going to know it? The reason why we are doing this is not just for students, even people sitting there in the back. Please know your own country, your natural heritage.
श्रीः सतत परिचयादेश संवर्ध्यमानो नाभीनाळीकलिं कन्मधुकरपटली दत्तहस्तावलम्बः अस्माकं सम्पदो गानविरलतुलसी धाम संजात भूमा कालिंदी कांतिहारी कलयदु वपुषः कालिमा कैटभारे कालिमा कैटभारे. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Adhya pravlitihi atra bhagavataha apara karunamburaashehe ashritavatsyaika jaladhehe shriyah patihi avapta samasta kamaha samasta vastu vilakshanaha akhilehe pratyanikatanasya paraya kripaya etat karnataka pradesham rajadhanim Bangalore nagarim tad upanagarim namni vanashankarim BNM नामने एतत् पाठशालायां मध्ये भागवताग्रेसराणां समीपे इयं दुष्यन्तदासः इदम् उपन्यासम् आरभे. There are many words in Sanskrit that speak of the mountains. Achalam, Adri, Giri, Parvatam, so on and so forth. Interestingly, in Sanskrit, each of these names that have been coined have an etymological derivation. For example, the tooth is referred to as Dvijaha, the tooth, because it's born twice. Dvir jayate iti Dvijaha. It comes as the milk teeth and then the permanent teeth, so it's born twice. Even so, the birds are also referred to as Dvijaha. They are born twice because they come as the egg from the mother and then it takes time and then it hatches. So it's born twice. So that's why we refer to them as oviparous. They come out of eggs, right? Then we refer to the others as viviparous, whereas scorpions do find an exception being ovoviviparous. So each of these names have an etymological derivation. Achalam, Varanachalam, Seshachalam, Venkatachalam. Achalam means na chalati. That which doesn't move is achalam. So interestingly, I have been given the topic to speak on mountains, and whenever it comes to Harikatha Kalakshepam, we need to put a word before it, the sacred mountains. So while this topic is being given to me, I would just want to take you on a small ride across these mountains that have been interspersed with beautiful anecdotes and a history in the Puranas. When we speak of the Kurma Avataram, where the Lord had to bear the weight of the mountain called as Manthara, that Mandara Parvatam was on his back. This process of churning resulted in a lot of wealth that was buried under the ocean bed to be given to the Devas and the Asuras. One of the oldest Tamil works in the early Sangam period, called as Silappadigaram, talks about how this was churned. And this song which I am going to sing now was rendered by late Srimati M.S. Subbalakshmi in the United Nations Assembly. Vadavarayai mataki vasukiyai nanaki, Vadavarayai mataki vasukiyai nanaki, Kadal vanna pandoruna, Kadal vanna kalagiraye, kalagiraya shuriya, Kadaikai kattungi the mountain which was used as a churning rod. Then comes the Nrisimha Avataram. So we might have all heard about this little boy called as Prahlad, who was bestowed with the Brahma Jnanam at a very young age. Our Shastras say that a child gains the knowledge about Brahman even while being inside the womb of a mother. Karuvarangattu utkidandhen kaidoludhen kanden thiruvarangan meyan tishai, says a Tamil poet, a mystic saint. One of our Puranas states, Jayamanam hi purusham yampashyen madhusudanaha satvikaha sadubhigneyaha savai mokshartha chintakaha. One who is bestowed with the knowledge of Brahman is the one who has already been blessed while he is in the womb of the mother. So Prahlad, though he was born to Hiranyakashipu, right when he was in the mother's womb itself, he was a recipient of the Brahman's knowledge. So when the child was born, he happened to have his activities which were very, very contrary to the thoughts of his father. So he was put to various tests, and he spoke about the omnipresence of Lord everywhere. Sarvatra asti sada asti. He is not confined to one place, one idol. He is there everywhere. So this omnipresence of the Lord, this is called as Vyapti Dharma. In Sanskrit, pervasiveness is referred to as Vyapti. Anuhu is atom. Since Anu, Vishnu, has Vyapti, pervaded all places and in all atoms, he is referred to as Vishnu. That is why the Sahasranamam starts Vishwam Vishnur Vashatkaraha Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu. So this child was asked, where is the Lord whom you are mentioning? He says, I see him everywhere. I see him in a blade of grass, and I also see him in the pillar that's standing right before you. So when the father heard this, he was in wrath, and he said, if he be here, let me strike at this pillar. Stambe ghattayato hiranyakashipo stambau samachurna chal agurna jagadanda kunda kumaro ghorastava bhudravaha shutva yam kila daitya raja hridaye purvakkadapya shrutam kampakaschana sampapada daitosma amboja bhuvishtarat. With the terror that struck and the noise that emanated, amboja bhuvishtarat, bhu falling, vishtarat, he fell. Who? Amboja, the one who sits on the lotus. Brahma, on hearing this, fell down, it seems. So, a great saint of the Madhva tradition in Karnataka, he sings the way in which the Lord appeared. So, Karnataka has the mountains on one side and can also be proud of having been the house of such great acharyas like Raghavendra Tirtha, Ramanujacharya, so on and so forth. Bhukhandam, Varanandam, Paravara, Viratam, Dambatam, Koru, Dampam, Dim, 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 Dimbam, Aharakara, Haras, Champa, Champais, Champais, Tulyas, 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 Dhuma, 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 Kai, Kumankai, Kumankai, Etate, Purna Yuktam, Aharakara, Haras, Patumam, Narasimha, Shankam, Chakram, Chachakam, Parashuma, Shamishu, Shula, Pashan, Kushastram, Vajram, Ketam, Kala, Musalagata, Kantam, Artyugragandam, Jwala, Kesham, Trinetram, Hara, Musalagata, Bharakeyura, Bhusham, Vande Pratyeka Rupam Parapada Nivasaf Patumam Narasimha. Came the Lord. But what happens is, in Tamil there's a saying, Kundru irukkumidamellam Kumaran irukkumidam. Kundru is a hill. Wherever you spot a hill, there is a young man standing above. Kumaran. Kumaran means Kumaraha, means a young boy. Shastras say the young man is the one who always stays young. Bhanuhu is a beautiful name that has been assigned to the Lord. So it is Nrisimha who stays, Lord Narasimha who stays in all these mountains. There is one beautiful shrine to Lord Nrisimha in Tamil Nadu. It's called Namakkal. So the Lord is inside the cave of a huge mountain. And the goddess, his consort, is Namagiri Tayar. Late Sri Rajaji's daughter was called Namagiri. Namagiri Tayar. You might have all heard of a great mathematician called as Ramanujam. Ramanujam's father passed away at a very early age. So his mother was left as a widow and she had to bring up her son Ramanujam, who was a genius right from he was a prodigy in mathematics. So he seemed to concentrate on the isolate formula of the UV rule. Isolate, inverse, logarithmic, am I right? Yes. So my Pilani knowledge is not bad. So he seemed to concentrate on that and less on the Battle of Plassey and the World War. So his inclination and penchant in other subjects were not as astounding as what his interest and inclination in maths was. So eventually he studied in a government school called as Town High School in Kumbakonam. That school is a very famous school for it has produced stalwarts. So he was put to that school. He would clear his maths exam at the toppest, the highest of the marks. But when it used to come in other subjects, he used to flunk. So his mother was naturally worried, just like a mother of these days probably. So eventually he tried clearing all his exams and he was put to a clerical job in Chennai. A great mathematician is now in a clerical job. So then he used to take the pages and work out some formulas at the back. And apparently a Britisher came and saw this and he said, wow, these don't look like the calculations that I've ever seen in my history. They seem to have emanated from a person of great caliber. Who is he? Asked the Britisher. And when he turned and looked, he saw this young man. So he said, I will give you a chance. I'll pay for your ticket. Why don't you come on a cruise? Let's go to London. So he had to go to his mother and sought his mother's permission. Probably was a custom those days. So, that's what we kept saying in Tamil Nadu till yesterday. The mother's permission. So he went and his mother said, when you go there, be careful, and whenever you are in crisis, think of Namagiri, the consort of Lord Nrisimha, who is enshrined in the beautiful hillock of Namakkal in Tamil Nadu, close to Salem in South India. He went there, he took up a topic for his thesis. The topic was one of the toughest, I presume, because his roommate in the book called The Man Who Knew Infinity says that. The roommate got all his answers for his research work, whereas Ramanujan couldn't get. It was months of work, it was years of work he couldn't still get. One night he slept, thinking of the goddess, because his mother told him. The next morning he got up at 6. Even without brushing the teeth, he started doing some mathematical calculations. It may seem like a sentence out of context when I say without brushing his teeth he did so. Even I do that today. Probably in those days people used to do the contrary. They used to brush the teeth and then study. So, but interestingly our Shastras say that there is one thing that a person needs to do without brushing the teeth. Putting Rangoli outside the house. Dantam na avalokya, says Dharma Shastra. So tell some more such things. So he got up and he started scribbling. And this roommate, Britisher roommate of his asked, "Oh, you've got the answers to your question." He said, "Yes." Who gave? The goddess wrote these calculations on the wall of the cave where I used to go. It's still there in that book. And he then composed a shloka based on that, the mathematician. So sacred mountains and their walls don't seem to give answers only to fresco painters but also to mathematicians like Ramanujan. So Narasimha, the Lord, something very interesting about Narasimha Avataram. I'll just give you some, since there are a lot of people who are into technology and science and believing in science. So we need to bring or come to a consensus between two parallel lines. In a great commentary to Brahma Sutras called as Sri Bhashyam, there is one very interesting note. There were logicians of those days called as Tarkikas. Tarkam in Sanskrit is logic. Tarkikam is the science of logical reasoning. That's called Tarkikam. Tarka. That's why if somebody argues in a very bad or a very rugged manner, you say Kutarka. Kutarkaha means one who does not know how to argue properly. So Tarka, Tarkika. So Tarkikas, they used to oppose Vedic Pandits. When Vedic Pandits said that the world has come from the Supreme Soul or the Parabrahman, they used to ask, we know that living things come from living things and non-living things come from non-living things. How can living and non-living come from a living thing? Was their question. This is logic. See, in logic you can never put science. You should only come to a conclusion based on statements. I remember my grandmother having said this. My great-great-grandfather was an advocate. And he used to come and see his granddaughter, who is my grandmother, every day from the court. So he used to come walking. One day apparently my grandmother fell sick and there was a little chit taken to the court and passed to him saying that your granddaughter is sick, come. So he took the bullock cart and came and saw her. And generally, it's a very Indian tradition to ask what has happened. If some child has fallen, you ask, Henge bidde? Heltriyalva? Kekano illaya eppadi vidunda? Andha madri he asked, why did you have this fever? Where did you get this fever from? So immediately she said, I never would have had this fever had you come walking. You came by the bullock cart, so I've got the fever. Because logic says, he used to walk every day, she was normal. Today he has come by bullock cart, she has got fever. So this is logic. So logicians said, living things come from living things and non-living things come from non-living things. We speak of we, the living things. We speak of the non-living things. Both living and non-living have come from the living being who is Supreme Soul. How is it possible, they asked. So the answer is in Nrisimha Avataram. In Nrisimha Avataram, where did the lion come from? Where did the lion come from? Pillar. Sthuna pitamahya bhut. Sthuna in Sanskrit is a feminine word for the pillar. Stambham, Sthuna, they are all synonymous words. So the lion, a living thing, came from the pillar which is non-living. Correct? So first solved. Now, Nisimha killed Hiranyakashipu using his nails. Nails grow, but they are still regarded as non-living. So the non-living nails emerged from the living being. The living being came from a non-living pillar. So the science was answered. So this Nrisimhavataram is enshrined in all possible hilly mountains. You've got a place called as Ahobilam in Andhra Pradesh. Ahobila Ahobalam says the shloka. So you've got 9 Nrisimha Murtis. It's a beautiful trek. For people who are religious, it's a religious trip. For people who are adventurous, it's an adventurous trip. For a people who want to have a jamboree of both, it's a medley of 2 unions. So people go there as a trek. They get smeared in the uninterrupted and unadulterated devotion that emanates in the hills. So there are 9 Nrisimhas. Jwala, Ahobila, Malola, Kroda, Karanja, Bhargavaha, Yogananda, Chhatravata, Pavano, Navamurtayaha. You'll have to jump from one hill to the other. It's a beautiful expedition, and then there's a waterfall. You'll have to go under that waterfall, go inside a cave, and you'll find a beautiful Nrisimha Murti there. So I thought for this event, I'll compose a song in Sanskrit which combines mountains. It's in Sanskrit. Pahi, Pahi Amritavalli Kripa Kari Vatsale Pahi, Pahi Amritavalli Vatsale, Kripa Kari Vatsale. Kripa, Ekashila in Telugu is Orugallu. Correct? Nenu cheptunnadi Eka Onnu Orugallu. Ekashila is Orugallu. Orugallu became Varangallu. So it's called Ekashila Nagaram. So it's very close. So on this goddess I've composed this song. Ghatika Drisha Priya Kari, Ghatika Drisha Priya Kari, Padala Drisha Ranjani, Deshika Pujita Kamale, Shankara Pujita Vasundhare, Subhashini Surumadhura. The goddess is so beautiful to speak to. You know, a speech needs to be uninterrupted and should use the appropriate words and should come in Vartate Madhyamesware. When Hanuman's speech was heard by Ram in Ramayana, he turns to his brother Lakshman and says, what a speech it is. Avistaram asandigdham adhridam avilambitam urastam kantakam vakyam vartate madhyamesware samskara kramasampannam adhridam avilambitam ucharayati kalyani vacham hridaya harini. You can never hold your mic and you cannot look up. You know, there are certain tips that we speak about communication skills these days, but all this has been mentioned right in our scriptures, how a person should talk, how his eye contact should be. And if there is somebody in the audience who's not attentive, how to bring him back to attention. You know, at times we say, go, that time people get up. You know, generally if you hear the lectures and if they are in a monotone, you seem to doze. You know, this is a manual thing, nothing can be done about it. But what the speaker can do is bring them back to attention by clapping hands. But that was not meant for them. But what happens is, while I was in the audience, I used to doze off, and if the person used to clap, I used to come back. So what you immediately do is you start nodding your head. You say that still, yes, I am attentive. And that's a sign to just tell the speaker that he has just dozed off. Aho bilahari priyakari, Aho bilahari priyakari. What raga is this? Aho bilahari priyakari. The other way, if you split, you get it as Aho bilahari priyakari. The one who is the consort to the Hari. Hari in Sanskrit means Harim harati papani, the one who steals away your sins. That's why they say Hari Katha. Harati means to steal. The one who steals your sins is called as Hari. The other meaning to Hari is a monkey. The other meaning to Hari in Sanskrit is a lion. So the lion god who sits there in Ahobilam, his consort is Amritavalli. Ahobila Hari Priyakari. And in Sanskrit, each word or culmination of words or words put together can make sense. In Muthuswami Dikshithar, a great composer, he composed a song called as Tyagaraja Yoga Vaibhavam. You know, when you split the word into pieces, each will make, like how they say habit. Take H out of it, a bit remains. Take A out of it, bit remains. Take B out of it, it remains. It, bit, a bit, habit. Likewise, Tyagaraja Yoga Vaibhavam. Agaraja Yoga Vaibhavam. Raja Yoga Vaibhavam. Yoga Vaibhavam. Vaibhavam. Bhavam. Vam. Vam. Bhavam. Vaibhavam. Yoga Vaibhavam. Raja Yoga Vaibhavam. Agaraja Yoga Vaibhavam. Tyagaraja Yoga Vaibhavam. Similarly, what I have composed is Kari Priyakari, Hari Priyakari, Bilahari Priyakari, Aho Bilahari Priyakari, Aho Bilahari Priyakari, Kamalasana Pitha Sthite, Narayana Dasa Hridaya Sthite, Pahi, Pahi Amritavalli. Not only there, in Andhra Pradesh, close to Vijayawada, on the banks of river Krishna, is a beautiful hillock called as Mangalagiri. There the Lord is called as Panaka Narasimha. Panakam in Sanskrit is a mix of water and a sugary substance. It could be sugar or it could be jaggery. So when you put them together, it's called as Panakam. There, what people do is they take Panakam to the hillock, they go to the shrine, the Sanctum Sanctorum, the Garbhagriha. They give it to the Pandit there and he puts it inside the mouth of Nrisimha. The mouth of Nrisimha is open there. Whatever vessel you take and you pour, you start pouring it exactly half the quantity. After half the quantity, you will hear bubbling sound coming out of the Nrisimha's face, which says that the rest of the half you keep it with you. So if you take it in a tumbler, you start pouring, and half of it, I don't know how it happens, but still, whatever you give at exactly half the quantity, there is a bubbling sound that comes. I have been to that place. It's a beautiful place. Interestingly, I'll talk about Tirupati later. There is one important fact that I need to tell about Tirupati. Likewise, there are so many hillocks. In Tamil Nadu, there is a beautiful hill called as Sholingar, which is very close to Chennai. It's called as Chola Simhapuram, Tirukadigai. There, Nammalvar says, Mikkanai marayai virinda vilakkai innul pukkanai pugashe podiginna punmalaye takkanai tadigai kundrin mishairda அடைந்து புய்ந்து போனேனே. When we come to Ramavataram, we see that Lord Ram came in search of Sita. There's an interesting incident what my Acharya used to state. He asked, who amongst Ram or Krishna is a better husband? I said, you should ask the wives. So, he said, it must be Krishna. I said, there would have been so much of Asuya. What is Asuya? Jealousy. The one who doesn't have Asuya is Anasuya. That's why you have the name Anasuya. But the name Anasuya was not given to her because she was not jealous of someone. Because nobody could be jealous at her. She had so much of merit that people couldn't even pit themselves against her. So Anasuya. Anasuya becomes a feminine word. So he said that Krishna is a better husband. I asked why. Because he said Krishna had so many wives, Ram had one. I said that makes the case all the more stronger to say that Ram was a better husband. He said no. Ram had one, yet he couldn't keep her properly with him, somebody abducted. Whereas Krishna Avataram, you had all the wives intact with Krishna. It's just take it in the lighter vein, don't say it outside, probably then people think I'm making fun. No, it's a very true fact. Ram had to go in search of Sita. Ha Sita, he went. Then he gave liberation to Jatayu, the vulture bird. Akshunya yoga pathamagrahyatam Jatayu, tiryanchameva bhavatam. Lord Swami Vedanta Deshika, a great Sanskrit poet and a Tamil poet, interestingly brings the crux of Ramayana in Gadyam. Gadyam in Sanskrit is prose. Padyam is poetry. A mix of both is called as Champu. You have poetry and prose. It's called Champu. So he brings it out in the form of a prose. The best tongue twister I've ever known in my life is this. It's in Sanskrit. So the moment, we all practice yoga. Morning he teaches, right? What is the Kapalbhati? That your stomach has to go inside. All that he teaches, fine. In Mumbai, there's also one concept. If you keep rubbing your nails, your hair seems to grow well. And most of the electric trains where I used to go for work, I used to find people doing this. Well, this is all yoga for the body. What's there for the tongue? Right? So tongue is something in Tamil. Tamil is one language that has one extra alphabet called as Ra. Karagam. Ra. That Ra needs to come properly. It's not Kazagam, it's Karagam. But people who say that they want to protect Tamil language can never get that Ra. Tamilukkaga naan poraduven. Tamilukkaga naan poraduven. Ra varavendama. Yeah. So that Ra needs to come. Likewise in Sanskrit you have this Dha. Interestingly, those days people who were well versed in Sanskrit, when they used to talk English, they used to get a bit of that tinge there. I was actually telling you not to do this. Sanskrit touch that often leaves you. Jaya Jaya Mahavira Mahadhira Dhaureya Deva Sura Samara Samaya Samudita Nikhila Nirjara Nirdharita Niravadika Mahatmya Dashavadana Davida Daivata Marishada Bhyartina Dashara Divada Kira Karakula Kamala Divakar Divita Devi Rana Sahacharana Chatura Jala Dashara Mashana Vimochana Kosara Sudha Kumara Bhava Kanchumana Karana Kara Kumara Kiri Koma Ida Kushikadvara Ranathara Durya Bhavya Divyastra Bandavandita Pranata Jana Vimata Vimatara Dulladita Dulladita Tanutara Vishika Vidana Vigadita Visharadu Sharadu Tataka Tatake Jadakirana Sakala Dara Jadina Nata Makuda Nata Patu Vipuda Sari Dati Adi Bakuda Madugana Ladita Mada Nadi Maraja Upamrita Nisha Krishna Jahadu Patata Chira Parama Muni Vara Yuvatika. It takes years for us to. Hence, today, if there is one USP that we can hold against China, it's our adaptability to learn languages faster. I gave lectures in Shanghai and Hong Kong just 6 months back. There were a few Chinese delegates who came and attended the English lecture. At the end of it, they said, India is a great country with culture, but we find the language quite tough. I said that toughness is what that makes us learn language easily. Dha, ka, ga, nga. So it becomes very easy when you learn German. Auf Wiederholen, you say. It's so easy. When you say hoi polloi, it becomes easy. So it's the adaptability in Sanskrit that puts you. So where do you get that adaptability and hardness from? Hardness of the language from the mountains. So Adri, Tishtha, Achalam. A mountain is known to be hard. So you need to know how to learn a hard thing in an easy way. That's what in Bhagavatam a person says. A rishi goes and asks, how many acharyas do you have? He says 24. My goodness, 24 acharyas. How come? He said, mountain is also one of my acharya. What do you learn from a mountain? How to be stable, he says. So any insentient thing can also be a guru to you. Why is a person called as guru? Who means teacher? That's all we know. You are asking unnecessary questions. You're being paid to give a lecture, do that and go. No, this is only when you contemplate you get answers, right? Guru. Gu swa andhakaraha. Gu in Sanskrit denotes the internal darkness. Ru tan nirodhakaha, one which annihilates. The one who annihilates the internal darkness. Gu, Ru. In Sanskrit, wherever you have words, you'll have to reverse them. Sanskrit is a very, very technical language. A person who could see everything was called as Pashyaka. Sarvam Pashyati. Pashyati in Sanskrit comes from the dhatu Pashya. Pashya means to see. Pashyati. Sarvam Pashyati. He could see everything. His name should have been Pashyaka, but in Sanskrit the rule says you have to reverse the word, so he became Kashyapa. The one who could carry heavy objects. In Sanskrit, Guru is not only a teacher, Guru also means heavy. That's why we say that it was not people in the West who said that the earth goes around the sun. It was our Vedas which said. It said that the earth goes around the sun like a student goes around the teacher. This science is called as Gaurava Laghava Nyayam in Sanskrit. Gaurava Laghava Nyayam. Gaurava comes from the word Guru. Laghava comes from the name Laghu. Laghu means small, Guru means big. Like a small thing goes around a big object, Laghu, which is the earth, goes around the Guru, which is the sun. So this is what Vedas state. Vedas speak about photosynthesis. All that can come at a later stage. Why I am telling you all this is, Ram came that way. And he saw Hanuman, because Hanuman was sent as a messenger of Vali, of Sugriva. Sugriva was the brother, younger brother to Vali, and he was excommunicated on grounds. What was the FIR filed for? That he was a bad person, he had cheated. So he went to a Parvatam called as Rishyamukha Parvatam. Where is this Parvatam? Again you are asking questions. Why has this become your habit? Rishyamukha Parvatam is in Hampi, our state, Namuru. Hampi Vijayanagara anta heltivi alva? Vijayanagaradalli, the ruins of Vijayanagara lies the mountain called as Anjanadri, where Anjana gave birth to Hanuman. You still have that mountain. And you have the mountain where Sugriv along with his few loyalists lived. It was called Rishyamukha Parvatam. So you know what Sugriv told Hanuman? You go in the guise of a Brahmin and you pose questions to Ram, and if you find signs that he is being sent by Vali to kill me, turn and with your eyes itself you tell me to run away, I will run. Tam Bhikshya. So Hanuman went. Sugriva Sachivo Nama Hanuman Nama Vanaraha. He went. And then Ram hugged Hanuman, and then there was a MOU signed between Ram and Sugriv. Sita Kapindraha Kshanada Charanam Rajiva Hemojjvala Nopamani Sugriva Rama Pranaya Prasange Vamani Netrani Samam Spuranti. Vamam in Sanskrit means left. Dakshinam in Sanskrit means right. That is why when you go in a circle around the Garbhagriha, your right side is always facing the Lord. So it's called Pradakshinam. Your right hand side is always facing the Lord. Pradakshinam. So Vamam is left. So Vamani Netrani Samam Spuranti. As per our Samudrika Shastra, if a girl's, lady's left side winks, it is a good omen. Whereas for a man, it is a bad omen. So when the MOU was signed, it seems Ravan and Vali's eyes, left eyes winked. Whereas Sita's left eye also winked. For her it was a good omen, for them it was not. Sita Kapindraha Kshanada Charanam Rajiva Hemojjvala Nopamani Sugriva Rama Pranaya Prasange Vamani Netrani Samam Spuranti. Sanskrit can, personally, it's my opinion, no language can ever equal Sanskrit. It is essentially a divine language which knows no part. Nothing can stand against it. Of course, Kannada, Malayalam, Telugu, they are all derivatives of Sanskrit, no doubt. If you take Tyagaraja's Balakana Kamaya Chena Sujana Mari Parashvira Manola Vidruta Sharajala Shubhara Karunala Bala Gananiro Rupyavala Marika Elani Dayaradu was only Telugu. Everything else was Sanskrit. If you take that way, even if you take Purandaradasa, Kanakadasa, what a Sanskritized Kannada it was. So, Ram and Hanuman had the pact, Ram and Sugriv had the pact. Hanuman flew to Lanka. That's where Sundara Kandam starts. You know, in Ramayana, each of these chapters have a name. When Ram, Sita, they were all young, it was called Balakandam. When they were in Ayodhya, it was called Ayodhya Kandam. Why is it called Ayodhya? Why is the city called Ayodhya? Na Yuddhe. There is no fight in that city. Now you have to remove out of it. There is only fight. Ayodhya. Ayodhye Amarajiteti Vidita Nagamparena Sthita, stays a poet. So that was called Ayodhya Kandam. Then they lived in the forest. Forest is called as Aranyam. So it was called Aranya Kandam. Then they lived in Kishkinda Rajyam. It was called Kishkinda Kandam. When Hanuman carries the message of Ram, flies over the ocean and reaches Lanka, tells Sita that your husband is all coming to protect you and rescue you. I will go back with a message that you're rest assured that he will come. He flies back. So Ram is separated from Sita. Sita is separated from Ram. Ram is in India. Sita is in Lanka. Both are in desperation. Both are in separation. Both are sad. Both are in agony. But the Kandam is called Sundara Kandam. It says that probably the composer may be a sadist. He's deriving pleasure out of the separation. He calls it Sundara Kandam. No, because Hanuman is the center topic of this Kandam. He takes the message. You know what was Hanuman's name? While he was christened by his mother Anjana, he was called Sundara. He was not called Hanuman. You know what does the word Hanuman mean? Hanuman means the one with a fractured cheekbone. A mother will never christen her child that way. The one with a fractured cheekbone. Hanuman. No, he got it later. He was called Anjaneya, but that was not his name. Anybody, had I been a son to Anjana, I would have also been called Anjaneya. Anjana Devisya Sunuhu Anjaneya. Dakshasya Putri Dakshayani. Drupadasya Putri Draupadi. Vasudevasya Sunuhu Vasudevaha. So this is not the name that he would have got. His name was Sundara. So while he started flying towards Lanka, there came a mountain out of the ocean. It was called Mainaka Parvatam. So Hanuman started going this way. You know, we take that we overtake, right? Generally you have to overtake this way, but in our country, whichever they will overtake. So Hanuman did that. He was an Indian. He was going from India only, right? He was used to this driving. So he took this side, the mountain came this way. He took that way, the mountain came the other side. So he thought of giving the mountain a punch. Then the mountain emanated a noise stating that my name is Mainaka. I was in fact one of those mountains in the early times where mountains had wings. Mountains had wings in Puranas. They could fly. Thank God they are not. Now there are so many housing constructions on the mountains also, right? In Banshankari also there is some Tata thing that is coming. Imagine the mountain is flying. Then Indra was a very cautious person. He was very careful of his ministerial seat, like many others today. So he thought, let me protect my seat. For that I should ensure that those that fly should not. So he cut off all those extra privileges that were given to those VVIP mountains. So he chopped off those wings. So all mountains fell and they remained stable. There was one mountain that sought refuge of Vayudeva. That mountain was called Mainaka. So Vayudeva, what he did, he took that mountain and placed it in the ocean bed so that Indra couldn't see it. So Mainaka was indebted towards Vayu, thereby his son Vayu Sunuhu Hanuman. Vayu Putra Hanuman. In Madhva Sampradaya they say, right? Vayu Jivottama and Hari Sarvottama. So Vayu protected the mountain. So the mountain thought, let me give Hanuman a chance to rest on my mountain, on myself. So 3 days, 2 nights, offer 999. With all these messages. So he said, you come and stay on my mountain. So Hanuman said, see, I am going on a mission. You speak about vision, mission, goal and objective these days in corporates. Vision is inside in, inside out. Mission is outside in. Management is an excellent subject. How to articulate with words. Right? Outside in, inside out, everything is the same only for us. But vision, mission, goal, objective. 4 marks if you clear, 1 semester you clear MBA. Then there will be one case study on that also. Now, so this is called as Dakshyam Matihi in Sanskrit. So we speak of all this. You know, when Stephen Covey states the 7 habits of highly effective people, first listen to understand and then to be understood. That was what Ram did in Vishnu Sharanagati. So interestingly, I give lectures called as Valkavi, Valmiki plus Stephen Covey. Valkavi. So all these 7 habits I compare with management because Yadihasti tadanyatra yannehasti na tadatpachit. Whatever you can find in Ramayana and Mahabharata, you cannot find it elsewhere. Whatever you cannot find in Ramayana and Mahabharata, you cannot find it elsewhere. So this is an encyclopedia of all principles and thoughts put together. So Hanuman goes, and then after crossing this mountain, he reaches another demoness, an ogress, who opens her mouth to consume him. So she starts opening her mouth, he grows in size. She opens further, people when they eat golugoppas. In Bombay, if you come in Matunga, you've got big golugoppas. So based on that, you'll have to open your mouth. See, you can never have it in installments. Pani puri, you'll have to have it in full. It has to overflow from your face. Then only that is tasty. And that person should not use gloves and he has to mix it well with his hands, fingers, and then only it is tasty. So, when she opened her mouth, Hanuman grew in size. She opened further, he grew in size. So her upper jaw went like this and her eyes started going upwards. At that point in time, Hanuman, an intelligent person, a smart person, he reduced in size of a thumb, went inside her mouth and came. Now she asked, I thought of consuming you. He said, you didn't tell me that you have to consume. He said, you have to enter my mouth. I entered and I came out. So this is smartness. Sukshma roop dhari siyahi dikhava, vikata roop dhari rang jarava, bhima roop dhari asura samhare, Ramachandra ke karu savari, laye sajivan lakhan jiyaye, Shri Raghuveer paraji urlaye, Raghupati badaye, priya bharat samavai, sahas badan kumaro jas gaave, as kahi Shripadi kanth lagave, sanagadi brahmadi munisha yam kuber digpal jahane kali kovid gai sake kahane turup ka sukriv hi narayana gaye raj kari Ram Lakshman Janki jai bolo Hanuman ki Ram Lakshman Janki jai bolo Hanuman ki. He came out. And then he reached Sita. He gave the ring which Ram had given her. People who have at least glanced through the pages of the original Ramayana should now come have a question. While Ram left Ayodhya, he gave away all his jewels. Otherwise, Kaikeyi she would have seized everything. And it is not an ornament that is not so visible. It's a visible ring. How did she not seize that? He took that ring. He is an honest person. He would have given. Not like us who go to airports. We slowly tell one person to hold some luggage outside. And after we have checked in luggage, we'll ask him to bring it in the side and take. No, see, Ram wouldn't have hidden it and then taken it out. And he gives it to Sita and Sita accepts it and acknowledges it. Gritva prekshamana sa bhartukkara vibhushanam bhartaramiva samprapta janaki mudita bhavat. It seems even if when she received the ring from Hanuman, she was so happy. The poet says, even at that point in time, had Ram and Ram's ring been on two places, she would have taken the ring and not Ram. She was so happy, it seems. So why did this insentient thing matter so much to Sita? And how did Kaikeyi let Ram go off with the ring? Because that was the ring given to him on his engagement by his father-in-law. So father-in-law's property can never go to Kaikeyi. So Sita was all the more happy when she received it because she felt the great kingdom of Ayodhya, my husband has let it go. At least he has my father's ring to rescue. So she was all the more happy. Dhitva prekshamana sa bhartukkara vibhushanam. Even this was gifted to me by my father-in-law. I have to be careful about it, right? Bhartukkara vibhushanam bhartaramiva samprapta janaki mudita bhavat. Then he comes back to India and then they construct a setu. People ask, to which engineering college had he been? Engineering colleges never existed before. The concept of engineering always exists. It's juggling with words and mincing with better vocabulary that makes us put better words to it. But concepts have always existed. So, Ram built the setu. And the setu today, if you have a cross-section of it, the cross-section of it clearly states how Ram built it in Ramayana. There are close to 60 verses that are dedicated to how Ram built it. First, he reached a place near Tuticorin. Have you heard of Tuticorin? Thuthukudi. I don't know what is. Some people say at that time, translate, don't tell in Kannada. Thuthukudi, I cannot say it in any other way. Thuthukudi. Tuticorin. So he went there and he wanted to go to Lanka. He couldn't. So he thought it's a long distance. Then he went to Rameshwaram, where there's a small stretch of water, ocean water that runs between India and Lanka. Interestingly, Ram was gifted by nature. he wanted to construct a bridge. The bridge has to rise above the water level. Now, for half the distance what he has constructed below the water, if there is already a bridge, then it will be helpful. In geography, there is a concept called as an oceanic ridge. A ridge is an inflamed portion of the oceanic bed that comes out of the ocean. So already there was a ridge connecting these two places. So then he started asking the monkeys to put logs of wood, trees there. So they placed all these trees. Above them, they placed the rocks, the larger rocks. To fill in spaces between the large boulders, he placed the smaller rocks. And then due to over a period of time when the waves started lashing, lot of mud started getting accumulated, sand started accumulating. And these logs of wood were crushed and they became reefs. Today when you do a cross section, you find the ridge, you find the reef, then you find the larger rock, the smaller rock and sand on either sides. Vandanamo Raghunandana Setu Bandhana Bhakta Chandana Rama Vandanamo Raghunandana Setu Bandhana Bhakta Chandana Rama Vandanamo. So Hanuman then he brought the entire army and Ram reached Lanka. While there was a battle, all of them swooned because there was some tranquilizer. That tranquilizer was called as Nagastra. And that point in time, a Pandita, a Garuda Pandita, a famous person who was well versed in the medical sciences, he came and said, I need 4 kind of herbs. You know, like how you give those genus and species name in biology. You have that Chlorophytum burivilianum, Periplaneta americana, Rana hexadactyla. You have all these names, right? So he said all these 4 names. Garuda Pandita. Hanuman was a Navavyakarana Pandita. He was a scholar who knew 9 kinds of grammar. Despite that, you know, when in those situations when they tell you Chlorophytum burivilianum, how will you remember all this? So Hanuman said, give me the identification of those 4 plants. Garuda Pandita immediately said, one plant will have its shoot, one plant will have the leaf that are bifurcated into 2. Hanuman remembered all this and he flew. Now he was left with only a few hours to rescue them and bring them back to consciousness. Because next morning Ravan would march with his army to kill them. So Hanuman had to cross Lanka, the ocean, cross Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, now Telangana, then Orissa, then and all this, and then he had to reach Himalayas. You have this Himachal, Himadri and Shivaliks. Beyond that is Kailash, and offshoot of Kailash Parvatam is a Parvatam called as Sanjeevani Parvatam. So it's full of medicinal herbs. So he went there. Now there were so many plants, now he was getting confused. Now in the South Indian families you have in the kitchen called as Anjarai Petti. It's called Anjarai Petti. I don't know what it is called. Kannadadalli ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ? Sala dabba. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ ಅದೇ. So Anjarai Petti in peru. What will happen is there are about lots of cups placed inside and you have mustard, then sesame and then all this. But never in any house it will all be placed in that cup. They will all be mixed. That's different. Now people use that for cooking. Now a child goes and says, Mom, I'm going to help you cook. Mom says, I know you're a master in all other subjects except cooking, so you'll not be able to assist me. I completely appreciate your interest. The child still insists, no, I want to help you. So now she says, get urad dal. He goes inside and gets some other tur dal. The mother says, no, urad dal. Then he goes inside. Likewise, the child can go. Now Hanuman brings 4 plants. And if he comes to Garuda Pandita and says, Garuda, no, these 3 are okay. The 4th one you have to go again. Hanuman has to go back. He cannot do this shuttle service again and again. So what he thought, let me take the entire mountain. Let them choose whatever they want. So he took the entire mountain and flew at the speed of the mighty bird called as eagle. Eagle is the one that can fly at the highest of the heights. Vainateya gatif para, says Ramayanam. How does an eagle fly? This has been very well put to words in Sanskrit in a form called as Dandakam. Dandakam in Sanskrit is a meter which tells you how a bird will fly. Now Vedanta Deshika has composed how an eagle flies. Garuda Makhila Veda Nida Dirudam Pishat Pita Notkantita Kunta Vaikunta Piti Kritaskanda Mide Swanida Gatiprita Rudra Sukitvistanavo लोपगूढस्फुरत्कण्टकव्रात वेदव्यथा वेपमानद्विजिह्वादिपाकल्पविस्मार्यमाण स्फटवाटिका रत्नरोचिश्चटाराजिनीराजितं कान्तिकल्लोलिनीराजितम् जय गरुड सुपर्णदर्वीकराहार देवादिपाहार हारिन्दिवौकस्पतिक्षिप्त तम्बोकिणाकल्पतप्रोदयानल्प पीतादिनोत्कर्ष सङ्कर्षणात्मन् गरुत्मन् मरुत्पञ्चकादीश सत्यादिमूर्ते कश्चित् नमस्ते पुनस्ते नमः. So he flew like that. He took the mountain and showed. So the person picked up these plants and said, you keep the mountain back and come. That is responsibility, right? Wherever you take, you keep it. Now when Hanuman flew from that place, an offshoot of the mountain fell in Lanka. You still have Ayurvedic companies situated around that hill which use those medicinal herbs. It's called as Aushadhagiri. So he placed that and came. So this is the importance of Sanjeevani in Ramayana. Whereas when it comes to Bhagavatam, Indra, who is the person who is supposed to bestow the cities with rain. We've been getting in this Navaratri, right, during Bangalore itself. But Andal, a mystic poet in Tamil says, Vaazha ulaginil peididai. Rain should never be so copious that people start swimming like how it is in Jammu and Kashmir. They were showing in those pictures, whatever you see on the top is all the third floor, they said. That means water has reached to the third floor. Vaazha ulaginil peididai. Andal gives a very good calculation to the rain god. She says, Thingindri nadellam tingal mummari payadu. If 9 days there is sun, scorching sun, the 10th day it should rain. So the paper should clearly state, in this month, 10th, 20th and 30th there will be rain, carry umbrella. Then we will be ready. It should not come in such a way when we carry umbrella, there is no rain, when there is rain we don't carry umbrella. Aisa nahi hona chahiye. So, Indra did not bestow rains properly, so the people, the inmates of Gokulam and Vrindavan thought, let us do a festival for Indra. Krishna stopped. He said, "ये क्या है मामूल जैसा है. In markets they give मामूल. For doing his duty, why should we give something under the bench? Right? We don't. It's his duty to do it. You know, interestingly, my grandfather, he was employed with State Bank of India. State Bank of India was previously called the Imperial Bank of India. So he joined the Imperial Bank. At that point in time, you had to put in ties and suits and all that, shoes. So he immediately went and informed his grandmother, Party, I've got a job in government. So the party immediately said, you have to go to Madurantakam. Madurantakam is a small hamlet near Chennai. And it has a beautiful shrine dedicated to Lord Ram. So she said you have to go to Madurantakam, pray to the Lord and especially the Garuda there. Because Garuda's shrine is generally opposite the Lord's sanctum sanctorum. He was confused. Why should I go to the Garuda shrine of Madurantakam? So he went there. He fell prostrate before the Lord and looked at the Garuda Sannidhi. Then only he came to know why his grandmother asked him to come there. There, Garuda has 4 hands. 2 above, 2 below. She knew her grandson is going for a government job. So he needs hands below as well. So she said, go there. So why should I pay tax to Indra? Asked Krishna. So Krishna said, we literally depend on the money that we get, dravyam that we get, by selling milk, curd, butter and ghee. And all that comes from the cows. Cows get these grass from the Govardhana Parvatam. So why don't we dedicate our devotion and service to the Govardhana Parvatam? So he went with heaps of rice, all sambar, whatever they did in those days, I don't know, it could be dokla, whichever, that state, right, Uttar Pradesh, kya hoga uspe, dal, khichdi sab bana ke gaye. So he went there and they placed it before the mountain. It's called Annakutotsavam, Annam. You know why in Sanskrit rice is called Annam? Again and again, you're habitual to asking questions, we can't do anything. Annam in Sanskrit is Aticha Atyacha. Annam comes because in Sanskrit the etymological derivation is Aticha Atyacha. If you have it in limits, you can consume it. If you cross the limits, that will consume you. Then only we have VLCC and all that coming up. Right? Aticha Atyacha Annam. So Annakutotsavam they did for Govardhanam. Now all these people They were very, very ignorant, innocent people. Krishna said, close your eyes. These people thought all this rice is meant for the hill. Hill can never, like Ganesha who consumed milk years back. Remember? Mountain can never consume. Now, Krishna had to make them believe that this mountain has accepted their devotion. What will he do? He consumed it. So he said, close your eyes. And he consumed it. And when they opened their eyes, Arey, mountain ne consume kar liya, bahut acha hai. If the same Lord does it today, we will not put any prasadam in the temples. Imagine, the Pandit goes with the prasadam inside the sanctum sanctorum, and when he comes out with the vessel empty. Then we'll say the Lord did not have, the butter had it, the Pandit had it. Correct? So, they came back after doing puja to Govardhan. That night, Indra was angry. He said, Mera mamul kidhar hai? Why didn't you pay tax? So he started putting copious rains. And all of them were literally shivering in the rain. There are 64 shlokas dedicated by Swami Vedanta Deshika in his magnum opus Kavyam called as Yadavabhyudayam, where he says how people suffered. So they all went to Krishna. Krishna was 7 years old, and people who ran to his refuge were people who were 80 years. Imagine in the house, elderly people go to a 7-year-old and say, please save us and protect us. They all went. They all believed in him and they went. He thought, I have made them believe that the mountain protects them. So now they have come for protection. So I will use the mountain to protect them. So he went to the Parvatam and he said, move slightly, and he's lifted. How did he lift? He lifted and held it this way. Correct? Wrong. As per Bhagavatam, he reversed the mountain. He put the base of the mountain on the top and the peak down. No, Swami. In B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata, they didn't show that way. B.R. Chopra did not listen to my lecture. In Bhagavatam, it was reversed. It was not lifted the way it was. Why did he reverse it? Because there was grass only on the other side. Only if he reverses it, the cow and the calf will be able to consume the grass. Even at that point in time, Krishna was so benevolent and merciful on those beings that couldn't speak but had a heart for themselves. So he lifted the mountain, reversed it and held it for 7 days like this. All of them started cooking under the hill. Wherever place. Now Yashoda was so upset. She said, is it only my son who should take the onus of holding this mountain? Somebody else come and take it for some time. So to that Lord who lifted the Govardhana Parvatam, Narayana Tirtha says, Govardhana Govardhana Giridhara Govinda Gokula Balaka Paramananda Govardhana Giridhara Shri Vatsangita Shri Kaustubhara Shri Vatsangita Shri Kaustubhara Pavagabhaya Pavagabhaya Mukunda Govardhana Giridhara Patita Surari Padavavrinda Patita Surari Padavavrinda Pavana Charita Paramrita Gauda Natyara Sosgata Nana Bharana Natyara Sosgata Nana Bharana When I say Govinda, shouldn't I speak about the hillock, the valley that houses the shrine? that is thronged by devotees throughout the year. Yesterday and the day before, apparently I was in Tirupati to give commentary for the Brahmotsavam. Beautiful, when you reach that hillock, whatever be the crowd, whatever be the rage, when you stand in that queue and you go, you never ever feel the fatigue, because it's your intent to reach the Lord as early as possible. Srimad Mahila Mahimandala Dharani Dhara Mandala Khandalasya Nikhila. When I think of the Lord, water comes. Varaha Kshetra Vibhushanasya Sesha Chala Garuda Chala Simha Chala Vishabha Chala Narayana Chala Anjana Chala Adri Shikarimala Kulasya Simadika Gunaramanuja Mudinama Ankita Bhuma Bhuma Shraya Varakama Nata Bhairavi Asaveri Bhairavi Maya Madava Gauda Asaveri Saveri Shuddha Saveri Devagandhari Danyasi Vegada Hindustani Kapi Todi Nata Purinji Shri Raga Sahana Atana Sarangi Darbaru Pantu Varadi Varadi Harikamboji Kamboji Bhuri Kalyani Yamuna Kalyani Husaini Janjoti Kaumari Kannada Karahara Priya Kalahamsa Nadanama Kriya. These are all the names of the ragas. We speak of the 9 planets, right? When I say 9, they are not. See, don't equal the word graha, navagraham. Graham is not planet. As per our astronomical sciences, a planet is the one that doesn't have light of its own. A star is the one that has a light of its own. There are certain bodies that take light of the star and reflect it back, like the moon. So we read about all this. But Navagraham does not mean 9 planets, because in Navagraham there is sun. Sun is not a planet. Navagraham there is moon. Moon is not a planet. It's a natural satellite. So Graham in Sanskrit means that which engulfs or catches. Graham leads to the word Grahanam. That is why in the solar eclipse or lunar eclipse we say Rahu or Ketu catches the sun, catches the moon. That's why in a marriage the groom catches the hand of the bride. So it's called Pani Grahanam. He catches. Pani in Sanskrit means hand. That's why the Sanskrit grammarian got the name Panini. Pani in Sanskrit means hand. Pani, the synonymous word in Sanskrit for Pani is Hastam. Hasti in Sanskrit means elephant. You have to be very careful in Sanskrit. Hastam is hand. Grahanam is catching. So Grahanam is Bandhanam. So Pani Grahanam, the act of catching the girl's hand, Pani Grahanam is Hasta Bandhanam. That is why he is called husband. Wow, sir. These are all the things that you are going to carry message back home. Right? Now what did he speak of? He spoke about husband. Okay. Now, in these 9 planets, people generally go to temples and are worried about Jatakam. You have heard of Jataka? Yes. Astrology. ನೋಡ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಕುಂಡ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Swami, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? My grandfather was an astrologer. They'll say Suryan is looking at Chandra is looking at Budhan without him knowing. All that is there. He'll look through the window, he'll look through the door, and immediately we'll flunk in our exam. Right? He looks and we flunk. Where is the effect? Cause and effect. Now comes a question. People ask, sir, we are going to get... these days people don't even look for horoscope, because we decide even before we look at the horoscope, right? So the marriage is done and then where to look at the horoscope. So it's all applicable at a point in time when people in the family used to look at horoscopes and match. Now we match and then let horoscope match or not. That is not a criteria. But now comes the question, should we look at a horoscope? Correct? Jatakam, Jateti. The movement of certain objects, planetary bodies, determine the movements in our life. The moments in our life. It's called Jatakam. In those days, I'll give you this food for thought. Jatakam was never looked like the way we look today. Today, everything they look Jatakam. Morning you open the TV channel, Kumbha Rashi. red color shirt ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ. See, if I wear red color shirt and all, my office, the HR person will throw stones at me. Right? So, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇದು ಲಕ್ಕಿ ನಂಬರ್ 7. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋ ಬಸ್ ನಂಬರ್ 6 ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ 7. See, all this is what puts our religion and our thoughts in a very bad shape. People in the yesterdays were not bothered about Jatakam the way we looked at it. You know, Jatakam was generally used for 2-3 purposes. And the most important of all, you know why it was used? In those days, the major occupation of all classes of people was to do a havan, yajna. So a Brahmin used to recite, a Kshatriya used to protect, a Vaishya will give materials for it. So everybody was a part of the yajna. So the person who performs a yaga in Sanskrit is called as pati. In Sanskrit, हम बोलते हैं ना आजकल नमस्ते जी, ये मेरे पति हैं. ये हवन ही नहीं करते हैं तो कैसे पति होंगे? पति का definition, the one who performs yajna is pati. The one who helps pati is called patni. Patisya puman bharya patini. Patini in Sanskrit, the full ta is cut. That's a grammatical rule in Sanskrit. Like how we have grammatical rules in English. Yeah, rules in Sanskrit as well. Sanskrit is such an age-old language. What do you, in English, for words or nouns beginning with A, E, I, O, U, what do you put before it? A or an? An. So, an umbrella. For university, what will you put? Why? It sounds like a consonant. It begins with a vowel, sounds like a consonant. So, these are all rules. Likewise, in Sanskrit, Harisya Patni, Harini. Patisya Puman, Patini should come, but grammarian Sanskrit, Panini said you have to cut that tha. So that tha becomes it. So it is not Patini, it becomes Patni. So Pati is the one who performs Havan. The one who supports the Pati is Patni. When he doesn't perform Yajna, he is not Pati. When he himself is not Pati, I am not Patni. So we should use other words like Bharya and Kalatram. So in those days, people used to do Havan. They never used to do for 1 hour or 2 hours. They used to do for 18 days. It is called as Prajapatyam. So in those 18 days, the first day, the person who performs the Havan is called as Karta. The doer is called Karta. Karta has to pledge. Sankalpa madkotare. I will do this Havan for 18 days without any interruption. If there is interruption and he breaks the vow, that will hit his family back. So what the person used to do is, he used to look at his own Jatakam and know in these 18 days will I survive or not. That is why they used to look at Jatakam. Not at the way every morning Kumbha Rashi or Simha Rashi. So the poet of Tirupati, Prativadi Bhayangara Mandan states that morning, you know, the most hardworking person in this world is not a software or a hardware professional. It's Tirupati Bhagavan. He has to repay his loan that he has sought for his marriage. So morning 1 o'clock he stands like this. Night at 12 o'clock he has to stand like that. Only 1 hour of rest. So mothers should not complain about their son sleeping only for 4 hours. If it is Vakula Malika, mother of Srinivasa, who should complain that my son sleeps only for an hour. So all the 9 planets gather at the sanctum sanctorum of the Lord every morning to have a glimpse of him, says the poet. Suryendu Bhauma Budhavat Padikavya Shauri Swarvanu Ketu Divishat Parishat Pradanaha Tvaddasa Dasa Charamavadi Dasa Dasa Shri Venkatachalapade Tava Suprabhatam. Suryendu Bhauma Budhavat Padikavya Shauri Swarvanu Ketu Divishat Parishat Pradanaha Tvaddasa Dasa Charamavadi Dasa Dasa Shri Venkatachalapade Tava Suprabhatam. Kamalakuchachuchuka kumkumato niyataruниtattulanīlatano Kamalayatalocanalokapati Vijayi bhava venkadashailapati Kamalakuchachuchuka kumkumato niyataru니tattulanīlatano Kamalayatalocanalokapati Vijayi bhava venkadashailapati. Venkadashailapati. There are 7 hills, but it's generally called as Venkatachalam. You know what does Venkatachalam in Sanskrit mean? Vem in Sanskrit means sins. Hatam means to remove. So if you go to that mountain, your sins are removed. Vem, Hatam, Venkatam. Venkatachalam. Achalam means that which doesn't move. It's a mountain. But there is an interesting anecdote to state that this mountain is no different from the Lord. It seems, if you take a sugar cane, it's called as ikshu in Sanskrit, correct? Ikshu is a sugar cane. Sugar cane has many leaves above it. So whenever they want to use a sugar cane, they will chop the leaves off. So the upper portion is chopped. The bottom portion is also chopped because it has roots and the last part will be very salty. So they'll chop that off. So the middle portion remains. They will then scrape it and then put it in the yantram. They will sprinkle some lemon on it and we will have it, right? Ganna juice. So it's called as ikshusaram. Ikshusaram is the extract of a sugar cane. So the poet says that the Lord is also like a sugar cane because the Lord is there with his crown. Crown is like the leaf. You can chop that crown off. Below his feet is the pitam. You can take that pitam. So essentially the Lord alone remains. He is also black hued like the sugar cane. Sugar cane is also long, so is the Lord of Tirupati. Sugar cane has many cuts in the middle. The Lord has his necklace, his girdle and his anklet, which are cuts. If you put a sugar cane inside a machine, you get the sugar cane extract. If you put the Lord inside the machine of devotion, you get the extract of him, which is his mercy. So there you get sugar cane juice, you get daya juice, mercy. So this mercy, sugar cane juice that came out of the Lord, extracted out of the Lord, is what that got solidified. You know, this sugar cane juice gets solidified as sugar candy. So the sugar candy got into a stone and that stone became a mountain, and that mountain of Tirupati is no different than the solidified mass of the Lord's mercy. Prapadye tam girim prayah Srinivasa anukampaya ikshu sara shravantyeva yanmurtya shakkarayidam, says the poet. So there the Lord who is on the 7 hills, interestingly, I'll tell you something about the Mula Murti there. The people who do puja to him are called as Vaikhanasa Agamam. They follow a particular Agama called as Vaikhanasa Agamam. There is one day called as Nijapada Seva. They will, on Thursday, they will remove the kavach on the Lord's feet and take it out. You know what is interesting about the Lord? The Lord has a beautiful stone lotus below his feet, buried. And there is a nabhi, that stalk of the lotus that goes. And today if they do abhishekam to the Lord there, the water will not come out. It will go through that hole and then go to Tiruchanur, which is down, and then get mixed with Swarnamukhi river, which goes near Kalahasti, which is a small Shiva shrine near Tirupati. Many interesting things about Tirupati can be said. Abhinikila loka sujarita mushtimdaya durita mochana dushtam sanjeevayatu dayema Janagirinath Ranjanim Bhavati 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 Venkatachala Nilayam Vaikuntha Puravasam Venkatachala Nilayam Vaikuntha Puravasam Pankajanetram Parama Pavitro Pankajanetram Parama Pavitro Shankhachakrathara Chinmaya Rupam Venkatachala Ambujodhava vinutam aganita gunanam Ambujodhava vinutam aganita gunanam Tumurunarada gana virodam Tumurunarada gana virodam Venkatachala nilayam Vaikuntha Puravasam मदनुकालो मकर कुण्डलधार मदनुकालो भक्तपोषक श्री पुरन्दर विठलं भक्तपोषक श्री पुरन्दर विठलं वेङ्कटाचलनिलयं वैकुण्ठपुरवासं 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 So each of these hills have their own importance associated. So a hill, see, the Lord is omnipresent, He is there everywhere. But the hill which comes on Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, is the pinnacle of the Lord's mercy, because the pinnacle is generally a peak. So the Lord's mercy is at its peak when it is a peak, when it's a mountain. So it's an embodiment of the Lord's mercy that has reached the pinnacle. So to such holy and divine hills, let us pray and pay our obeisances. And with all these hills around, there's one last point that I need to mention. What ant hills? We call them as ant hills, right? You know what are ant hills? Ant hills are the ears to Bhumi Devi. Vedas state that Bhumi, Mother Earth, can listen what's happening on her through her ears, and such ears are ant hills. So ant hills are the ears to Mother Earth. In Sanskrit, ant hills are called as Valmikam. Since that Rishi lived inside that ant hill and came out of it, he was called Valmiki. Valmikam Valmikata Shravanato Vasudhatmanaste Jato Babhuva Samuni Kavisarva Bhauma Gode Kimadbhitamidam Yadaviswadante Matraravinda Makaranda Muchah Prabandaha, states a Sanskrit poet. So to hills, ant hills, we celebrate. Interestingly, Bangalore is also a hill. Its altitude is much higher than the areas around. So on the hill, and Banchangri especially is a hilly region, right? So with this, we come to a close of this Harikatha, having had Vidwans here. Let me conclude it with a Mangalam. Seshachala Nayakanakku Mangalam, Varanachala Nayakanakku Mangalam, Garudachala Nayakanakku Mangalam, Mangalagiri Vasanakku Mangalam, Ahovileshanakku Mangalam, Vedadrivasanakku Mangalam, Mattappalli Nayakanakku Mangalam, Namakkal Udayonuku Mangalam, Anjanadri Nilayanukku Mangalam, Govardhaneshanukku Mangalam, Venkatachalanukku Mangalam, Seshadri Nayakanukku Mangalam, Tirughatikachalavasanukku Mangalam, Padaladrishanukku Mangalam, Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunabdaye Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam, Mangala Shasana Paraihi Madacharya Purogamaihi Sarvaihi Shakuvait Acharyaihi Saskritaya Mangalam Pavamana Sutudu Batu Padara Vildamulagu Ninama Rupamulagu Nityajaya Mangalam Rahiva Kyaya Raja Rajadi Vinudamaina Ninama Rupamulagu
Mane and Mr. Vijay Kumar to do the honors. I now request Vijay Kumar to give a small gift to Mr. Mane and the library on behalf of Heritage. And we have a small gift for Seshu, who we have harassed all the time. Just a small little gift to Mr. Seshu. We know that he loves Tirupati Balaji, so. And my real good wishes to all you youngsters. Even the ones who are naughty, I have noticed, have sat up and listened very well. So I hope you have all enjoyed this experience. We have just loved being here and we always like coming here. I hope next year no attendance is needed.
Well, I would not be happy if I don't share a few thoughts with the wonderful audience that we have today. First of all, I should thank Mr. Ravindranath, Dr. Ravindranath Sridhar for taking us to understand and to make us believe how fortunate we are and to know how benevolent God has been on all of us. We can understand the value of light only when we have gone through darkness. And the state at which these people have been left by some indiscriminate people who have never had humanity in their minds. I have spoken to Dr. Shanbal to find out ways and means in which we at B&M Friends of Nature Club can do something which may be a step in the direction in which we can show that we are also human. I thank you, Dr. Shanbal, for agreeing to our request and give us, our students and the institution, an opportunity to do our own little Adil Seva, whatever we call it. And we are really indebted to you for taking time off and to be here with us and to take us through the journey which we will never forget in our lifetime. And coming to the second program, Mr. Dushyanth Sridhar, can you ever believe that he has gone through BITS Pilani and the Indian Institute of Science, and here he is with us? It only strengthens the belief at B&M that academics can be well taken care only when you have these additional inputs which are very, very important in life. And I've been impressing upon you youngsters, especially the first year students, that all those students who have excelled in this institution have also excelled in all other activities, whether it is Kala Bhagirathi, whether it is the Nature Club, whether it is the NSS Club, or even the Sports Club. I should have told you about the vice versa. All those people who have taken part in all these extracurricular activities are the people who are at the top. So, this is one living proof for you, Mr. Dushyanth Sridhar. I'm sure whatever I told the newly joined students, now here is the proof. Do you agree with me now? Yes, sir. Yes. That is what I wanted to tell you. See, when you have got a determination in your mind that you have to do well, you can do well only when you have all the interest which is comprehensive, not just doing well in academics and finding a job. I don't think that is going to take you very far. Whatever lot of money you earn, there is also a way in which you can drain it. But here is something which you add and keep on adding and it will never leave you. With this I will take leave, and then I have to say that we have found a new idol for us in Mr. Dushyanth Sridhar, and I am sure you all will emulate his thoughts, his feelings, and remember his capabilities, that you also can take a step in the direction which he has chosen to lead a very fulfilling life. Thank you, and congratulate each one of you for being a wonderful audience, and also for the faculties who have gone out of their call of duty. And each one of the faculty members deserve a Prakriti Award, I feel, because they have done a lot of work. I can never imagine that just a small meeting with asking them to cooperate and make this function a grand success. They have done it so well and gone out of the way. I can never imagine. I am really shuddering to think that whether we can give you such onerous responsibilities again and again. That's what I was telling when we requested, and when Madam Vijayalakshmi said we'll call the governor, I did not know it will be such an arduous task. But see, when you have to work in a short period of time and do so many things and do everything right, it really takes a toll on us. And we were able to do it only because of the support of all the people from Heritage and also all the faculties and all the supporting staff. I can never thank you enough. I wish that God bestows upon you His mercies, because this is a program which is about our creation, and I am sure you have done your bit towards doing something good for this country. Thank you, and now let us adjourn for lunch, and thereafter we can discuss. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you very much. Me to coordinate with Mr. Shanbag and the Nature Club and to see that we implement what we have promised to take up. Thank you, Mr. Minister.